My name is Michelle Henderson. I'm from New York City, and I am an environmental engineer. To define an environmental engineer, I think you need to look at the components of the two words, environmental and engineer. We come up with solutions for complex problems related to the environment, drinking water, sanitation, many different things that help people directly. I was first interested in environmental engineering after a trip that I went on in 2007. And I went outside the country, and I saw how the rest of the world lives compared to how I live. And it just changed my perception of life and how I live. And I knew that people across the world didn't have the same access to water that I did. So I grew an appreciative love of water, and that love of water has driven me to become an environmental engineer. So throughout my undergraduate degree, it led me to geology. And that, unfortunately, was not the path that I decided to go. I didn't have a direct impact on people. So I decided that with my love of humanity, the love that I have of science and water, and the background knowledge that I had in geology, I wanted to make it more applicable to people. So I decided to become an environmental engineer and pursue a PhD at the University of South Florida. So my job as an environmental engineering researcher is to look at different systems and see how these systems can reduce different types of contaminants. So specifically, a project that I was working on was looking at how this specific system could reduce nitrogen and pathogens from wastewater. And this is super important because wastewater is a contributor to what makes water green. So we make sure that nitrogen is removed, and then we say, hey, now we have a better product. Could this product be reused? Yes, it could be reused, but we have to look at pathogens. So what would it look like if we reduce the amount of pathogens within a wastewater stream? Would we be able to reuse this water for irrigation? And that would in turn conserve water for local hydrology, and then people could reuse their wastewater closer to their home and to water their plants outside. My favorite thing about being an environmental engineer is the fact that I make an impact. I originally was a geologist by trade. That was my undergraduate degree. And I realized that I love geology, but it did not have an impact on people. The impact was pretty indirect, and I felt like I wasn't helping people, that I wasn't really contributing to society as a whole. And I realized that I could take the scientific knowledge that I have, my love for the environment, and the love that I have for people, and combine all those three. And then I decided to pursue environmental engineering as a PhD student. The advice I have for someone who's thinking of becoming an environmental engineer is to try to do research within the field. I actually started doing research in environmental engineering before I came to the University of South Florida, and that helped me to kind of get an idea or grasp on the concepts that I would be introduced to as an environmental engineer. So if you want to become an environmental engineer, definitely do your research beforehand, because sometimes it may seem like you want one thing, but maybe know what specialties you want in terms of environmental engineering. Would you like to focus on forestry? Do you want to focus on wastewater or drinking water? There's a lot of different aspects to environmental engineering, so find out what your heart beats for. Find out where you fit in. In terms of becoming an environmental engineer, you have to have strong math and science skills. So take extra classes if you can. If you're in high school, or even if you're in community college, take extra classes that will help to just increase your scientific knowledge. The environmental engineering program at USF is very unique because of its collaborative initiatives. I've been to a few undergraduate institutions, and I've had the ability to peek into their research labs. And researchers across the country, we talk. And one thing that I've noticed is that people in some departments are very competitive. Everyone tries to make it to the top. But here at USF, we've developed a system where we are very close-knit. We're almost like a family. So if I have a problem and I'm not necessarily sure what to do, I can ask any of my colleagues. And if they don't know, I can ask any professor in our department, and I believe that they would have the answer. And this goes as far as to when it comes to publishing, we all try to collaborate on different projects and use the expertise of those who are actually around us. In terms of collaboration, it's uplifting. It builds a community rather than creating competition within the scientific community that's already present.